Hirana kali potokurshi himoto. Hiranaya tokushani kimaya takali taka. Mohotaya vishitanya kali motahashaka. Hirokomati hariamukode. Ishtaya mukupala karana krusha hyarata. Vastokruta halamuto. Shivakala havuto Shivakali hamano guru. I am here. God's energy, God's love, God's truth, God's peace, God's joy. Certain that we are the serenity, the peace, the love, the truth. The things that we are is God's consciousness. We are the truth, right? We are the truth of all things. We are seeing ourselves as that truth. The things that we are is God's consciousness and bliss. We've accepted ourselves as God's consciousness and bliss. We've come into this being at this time to be allowed to be free, right? We've come into this being at this time to be allowed to be divine. We've come into this being at this time to be allowed to be wonderful, right? Everything is wonderful. Everything is joyful. Everything is peaceful. Everything is loving. Everything is divine. We are the consciousness of all things. We have come into this being at this time to be the consciousness of all things. The consciousness of all things rests within the truth of our beingness. Have we come here to be great? Have we come here to be divine? Have we come here to be perfect in the divinity of all things? Have we come here to see the truth within our beings, within all things? Within that truth is our beingness, is our divinity. We have come here to see that God, Christ, right? God, Christ, all the oneness that we are, all the joy that we are, all the peace that we are, the Christianity that came out of Christhood is what? Is it the Christianity of all things? Is it the Christianity of Christ consciousness and bliss? Is it the Christianity of our divine selves, our true selves, our wonderment and our joy? Is the Christianity that has come out of Christ consciousness and bliss. We are the Christ consciousness, right? We are the Christ consciousness. We are the Christ consciousness. What is Christianity? Has it come out of a meaning of Christ consciousness and bliss? Have we come to see ourselves as the divinity of all things? Haven't we come here to be divine? Haven't we come here to be perfect within our Christhood? Haven't we come here to be perfect within our Christ abandonment? No, we don't abandon the Christ within our beings by accepting some other Christ position. What does it mean to be Christian? Does it mean to be Christ within our own beings? Does it mean to be Christ within our own selves? Does it mean to be the Christhood that we are? What is Christ? Christ is the beingness of divinity within every being that has ever walked this earth plane, ever will walk this earth plane. We are the Christhood. We are the Christianity. We are the seeking, the surrendering, the joy, the bliss, the wonderment, the peace. What is Christianity? Okay? What is Christianity? Have we forgotten our Christhood as we've delved into these issues of being a Christian? Have we forgotten our Christhood when we've delved into these ideas of what it means to be Christian? Who is a Christian? Who is a Christian? I am a Christian because I dwell in Christ consciousness. I am a Christian because I love God. I am a Christian because I have found within myself the true consciousness of all things. Has Christ given you a reason to be alive? Yes, the Christhood within you is your reason to dwell on this earth plane at all times. The Christhood within you is the Christianity that we are divinely given, right? The gift of Christianity is the Christhood within every being that seeks for divinity. Divinity lies within our own true space of divinity. Why have we come here to be separate from anything that we are? Why? Why have we come here to be separate from anything that we are? Christhood is the beingness of our truth. We are seeking Christhood within our own beings. Christianity dwells in the place of knowing who we truly are at a deep core level of our being. The Christianity that dwells within us is the Christianity that is the essence of all things. Have you seen Christ in your heart? Because Christ is the Christ consciousness in you. Christ is the Christ consciousness in me. Christ is the Christ consciousness that walks this earth plane. Yes. Christ is the Christ consciousness that belongs to you, belongs to me. I am Christ because I dwell in the Christianity that is the truth of all things. You are the Christ because you dwell in the Christianity of all things. Have we seen Christ consciousness within our own beings? What does Christ consciousness look like within you? What does Christ consciousness feel like within your true self? What does Christ consciousness look like as we dwell in the consciousness of our true heart? I want you to take a moment right now. Take a moment and look into your heart, deep into your heart. What do you see? Do you see Christ in your being? Do you see the Christ consciousness that is you in your being? What is the Christ consciousness of you? You dwell in the truth of your own beingness. There is nothing separate from you. There is nothing separate from your Christ consciousness. Do you see? The Christ within you is the Christ that dwells within all things. Look deeply. Feel your Christ energy. Know yourself as divine. See the energy that dwells consciously within you as beingness and bliss. I concede that I know the Christ consciousness within me. Allow yourself to know the Christ consciousness within you. You've accepted divinity. You've accepted all things as divinity. You've accepted the beingness of your true self. You've seen the light of consciousness within your heart space. Allow that heart to open to divinity in your Christ consciousness now. Allow that space to open up to the divine in everyone and everything. We allow divinity to be who we are when we accept the divinity of our own true self, as all things will always be divine in this space of consciousness and grace. Don't separate yourself from the one who you are. Where are we going? How have we come to be where we are? We are divine. We are pure. We are that aspect of God that says, I am. Yes, I am. I am, and I am the one who came here to be divine. Yes. Christ says, become divinity within you. Christ says, become divinity within you. Yes. Christ says, become the divine one that you are. Christ says, open up your beingness to the divine energy of consciousness. Now you dwell in the peace of all things. Yes, you do. You dwell in the peace and the consciousness of your true self. Why have you come here? To be great, to be grand, to be alive, to be aware, to be awake. Yes. Christ is my beingness. Christ is my energy. Christ is my perpetuation of seeing, seeking, loving, knowing truth. I've come here to be divine. I have not come here to separate myself from anything or anyone. We are all one energy. There is no consciousness that can be separated from this energy of divine love. You can't separate yourself from divine perfection and love. You can't separate yourself from divine consciousness. It's impossible. We've come here to be alive and awake in the truth of all things. I love you. And my divinity rests in the Christ consciousness that we all are. Your divinity rests in the Christ consciousness that you seek. It is within your own being. It is within your own self. It is within you. Your Christ consciousness is the beingness that you've been looking for, searching for, seeking. Don't worry about becoming someone else. Don't worry about becoming another aspect of divinity. The only truth you need to know is that you are the Christ energy of all things. As Christianity grows, we ask the question, what is Christianity? Christianity is the Christ within your own beingness. It can be nothing other than who you truly are. Ask yourself, do I know me? Do I know my essence? Do I know where I've come from? Do I know that I rest in the hands of the divinity of all things? I am divine. Absolutely everything within you lies in the divine consciousness of all things. Do not separate your beingness from the consciousness of all things. We are one in consciousness and peace, alive in divine understanding, one with all things. I am Christ consciousness as you are Christ consciousness. Rethink the words that you've been given about what it means to be Christian. Rethink the words that you've been given about what it means to be Christian. Because I ask you, have you been given a word that says, I am separate from my divinity? Have you been given a word that says, I am awake, but I am not aware that I am the consciousness of all things? Have you been given a word that says, I do not accept my beingness as a Christ conscious being? Because if the words you are speaking deny your truth as a true being of Christ consciousness, then you have been given the lies of generations and generations and generations, and Christ consciousness is waiting here for you. Go into your beingness, go into your life, go into your heart, go into your divinity, and ask yourself, do I know who I am? Because I have come here to be the divinity of all things that I am. I am that I am. Yes, and I will always be that I am. Seek only within your own beingness for the truth of your divine essence. Ask Christ consciousness to be within you as you seek the divinity of all things within your own being. Christ consciousness is the divine aspect of your own true beingness. Ask yourself, do I know who I am? Ask yourself, do I know who I am? Ask yourself, do I know who I am? Christ is you. We are one in all things, and nothing has ever been separate from our identity in Christ consciousness. I ask you to believe in your inner divine self. I ask you to believe in your inner divine soul. I ask you to believe in the consciousness that you are, that I am, that all beings are, have been, and will be. We are one in that consciousness of Christ. Energy, be one, be joy, be peace, and be love. We are divine. I love you. Consciousness is us. I love you. Amato Shivakari Anom Yemotaipo Shivakari Nehova Imuli Nehole Umai Yemote Maliano Shiva Himolayala Yanoma Ino Aleu Ito Shivalam Kinam Jaluna Imulaino Yama Ilam Ilam Yuraraimo Ilanoma Iuno Ivolai Amulai Umolai Iumala Yushiva Iulaimu Kirama Hua Irama Arenyo Amalan Igurarem Anna Yurulaimu Allah Yurara Yurukalimu Yumara Yishole Kuma Yururaimu Areu Hamuchino Ngemunai Ai Hualim Au Shioe Mai Hu Hima Korayata. I am God. We are one. We are God. We are consciousness. We are truth. Right? Consciousness of all things dwells within each being as the consciousness of God, Christ, energy. We rest in the divinity, knowing that our truth speaks through the divine essence of our own being. God, Christ, consciousness is you. God, Christ, consciousness is you.